This is a warning, brother. The sound that is about to play will contain graphic and foul language, yeah, but is intended to be entertaining, at least to some. Oh, yeah! If you are easily offended, yeah, don't have a sense of humor, yeah, or have your head up your ass, oh, yeah, this isn't for you. Everyone else, please try to have fun. And as always, the cream rises to the top and stay creative.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bryan SilverBax Show. I am Bryan SilverBax. Today, I'm going to be talking with Christopher, and we're going to be talking about comic books. We're going to talk about his comic book nation, and we're going to talk about all sorts of cool stuff. So this installment is brought to you by Capone Streams. You guys stick around. What's up, Christopher?
What's up?
How are you, my friend? You are on the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken.
I am definitely on the West Coast right now. It's 11:40 a.m.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to, I try to knock these out during the week as best I can so that I don't have to fool with them as I schedule my releases for content. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Like if I have a show coming up, the last thing like with Dragon Con that just passed, I needed to schedule I need to have 4 podcasts in the can, all loaded up and ready to go, so that on load-in day I didn't have to worry about it. The first day out of Dragon Con I didn't have to worry, just to make life easier.
Right. That makes perfectly good sense to do that way.
Now you are a fan of comic books, if I'm not mistaken.
I definitely am.
At what age did you get introduced to comic books, and how?
That's a very interesting question. So what I did is I decided to get my first job mowing lawns, and I got paid very well, actually. I mowed 4 lawns for $100 a weekend, so I made $400 a month at the age of like 11 or 12.
All right.
And then my dad decided to take me to a comic store, and I talked to a guy who used to be a San Francisco 49ers football player who retired and opened his own store in Sacramento, California. And now he has a franchise. But he introduced me to comics. I got to a subscription service, and I started getting more comics. And then one day, I got hooked into the con circuit.
All right.
I'm like,
let me pause real quick. The subscription service that you would get involved with, was that the ones where they folded your comic books up and stuck them in your mailbox?
No, it was actually, they actually did it the way they do nowadays, modern.
Oh.
It was put in bags and boards, and they were put in a box flat. They were one of the few, I would say, retail establishments that actually did it that way in the early days, because
so the comic book shop is the one that sent you your books, not the publisher.
Correct.
Oh, see, I was always ripping out the things in the back of the comic books where it's like order 3 and subscribe for a year, and you just would like send it into Marvel, and they would send you the X-Men and Spider-Man, but they would just be folded up and put in your mailbox, and they'd always be worthless.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that. And what I would do is I'd order 1 to like 5 or 10 copies of each one of number 1 or number 2 or number 3.
All right.
And keys, because that's what I used to do, because he told me to do it that way, and I actually got a very good collection. However,
about what year is this?
It was 1982 when I first got it.
Just before the bubble had really started with all of the Image and the McFarlanes and the Jim Lees. So right before then is when you started doing this.
Yes.
Okay.
It was around the time when like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman came out, and all that stuff.
All right. So you kept one to read, and then you stored the others away?
Correct. I did in storage. Yep.
All right. Do you by chance still have those comics?
Actually, I have probably about 100 of them. I had probably about 10,000 at one time.
Ooh, sheesh.
But my mother, when was 18, kept them until I was about 26, and I went to college and I got a job and away, came back, and I asked for my. Oh, we sold them.
Oh, wow, at a garage sale.
I
So
went, you sold what?
your parents are the ones that I'm hoping to find when I drive around on the weekend saying yard sale signs. I'm hoping to run across someone who's got a long box and says $50, you can have them all.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, man, that sucks. A buddy of mine also had that happen to him, but here's what his parents did. So we collected comic books in high school, and then he went off to art school and all this other stuff. Finally came back and got his own place, got married, asked his parents for his comic books back, and I guess they had sold them or lost them, so they just went to like the nearest dollar bins and just grabbed a whole shitload of just dollar bin books and like kind of put them together, 2 short boxes, and said, oh, here's your comics, but it's titles we never bought. So
that is so wrong.
Yeah, so it's like there's no X-Men in there. There's Archie and all kinds of obscure titles. We're like, what is this stuff? We didn't buy any of this. It's just funny how parents, I'm guarantee you a lot of parents nowadays aren't, they know better, you know, with the hype of the movies and everything. If they see comic books, they're not just going to mark them as 25 cents.
So what kind of made me a little angry about that whole thing where my comic books were sold. So I had copies of like ASM 360, 361, 2, and 3, multiple copies.
Uh-huh.
I had Killing a Joker. I had like all those comics that are worth a lot of money nowadays.
Yeah.
And I don't have any of them anymore.
That stinks.
So what I do now is I search out and find deals, and I basically rebuilt my whole collection again.
All right. And now, are you buying 3 and 4 copies at a time, or are you buying them just so you can have one in your collection? Are you buying them like an investment?
So when I have one copy, normally slab, the highest grade I can get, and have it slab. Normally I go for signed copies or remarks, and I will make that my personal collection. And then new comics, for example, like keys and stuff, I will buy multiple copies of that, and then I'll slab one.
Just to get like not even signed or anything. You'll just slab one to hopefully get a 9.8, 9.6 on a slab copy.
Exactly, or a 9.9 or a 10, which I've actually got some 9.9s and some 10s that way too.
Now, do you have a preferred service over CGC or CBCS?
Well, that's interesting you ask that, because I prefer CGC as the gold standard, only because they've been around a lot longer and I've had a lot of experience with them. However, CBCS actually has a lot more to offer than CGC. They have their pros and cons.
Yeah. I think what
CGC is a little slower, and
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
CGC is a little slower in their process. The CBCS is a lot faster. I like their signature, the way they do their signatures at CBCS, but CGC is good too.
All right. Now, and nowhere in this is the PXC or whatever, the PCX or whatever that
PGX?
Yeah.
I would not recommend PGX to anybody at all. I've never got a PGX book. I know a lot of people will take PGX books and crack them and resend them into CGC or CBCS for regrade.
That's just. I mean, are they still an active company? Do you know? Are they still taking submissions?
I heard they were, but I also heard a rumor that they were going out of business possibly. But I looked online recently, and they're still in business. So I don't know how they are, but they're still trucking along.
All right. Well, so with your who do you get knowledge from on what is going to be a speculative key, or what book may be worth money, or like where do you gather all that information when you go to buy books?
So that's interesting, because I actually do a lot of homework.
All right.
So what I do is I talk to people like yourself, artists. I'll seek out publishers. I'll seek out, like, Go Collect, CBSI, investments.
All right.
I'll also go on keycollector.com.
Oh, that I like that app.
It's a very nice app. I also go on Comic Tom 101.
Yes.
And I look at spec pages and Facebook pages, and then I'll talk to other collectors and other retail brick and mortar stores and established stores with a presence, a Facebook presence, and I'll start looking and compiling information. And then I'll look at who drew it, who wrote it, what it's going to have in it, the characters, and if there's a story arc, and then that's how I figure out my keys.
That sounds like a full-time job.
It actually is, because my full-time job is public safety.
All right.
But Comic Book Nation was originally supposed to be a hobby. I made it because I got scammed out of $2,500 from a seller. So I decided to make a better platform for people in the comic industry, and it just expanded from there, where now I have artists, inkers, Kickstarters, collectors, retail, brick and mortar. I mean, the list goes on, and artists are selling their stuff on the page now, and it's become so big and keeps on getting bigger day by day as time goes, that it is becoming a full-time job.
Well, I noticed when you say Kickstarters, are you as the Comic Book Nation, do you guys collect dues from people? It's not like a paid organization, right?
No, we do not presently, but we have discussed some interest and some suggestions from some of our artists and some of our Kickstarters and publishers as a suggestion that in time we may charge like a $15 or a $30 a year type of dues thing, because that way it will fund exclusive covers that we do, as well as fund some project Kickstarters with some artists that we've talked to.
That's the reason I was asking, is like, how cool would it be to be part of the Comic Book Nation, and the Council of Comic Book Nation says, you know what, we want to invest $2,000 in this Kickstarter that we find appealing and we think needs eyeballs. So as the Comic Book Nation, they say, here you go, guy doing your Kickstarter. Here's $2,000 to get you to where you're going. Let us put our logo inside the book or whatever, and we will, it allows you to partner up with projects that you find interesting on Kickstarter and not limit yourself to just completely published work.
I absolutely agree, because one thing I believe in when I formed this and it started expanding in different branches is that I'm very into independent comics, because I believe that everybody deserves a start. And so you have the big ones, right? Marvel, DC, Image, and you have Scout and other ones like IDW and Dark Horse and all those, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
There's a ton. However, there's a lot of really great artists out there, like yourself, that
thank you.
need to start somewhere, and a lot of the big ones will not let them do that. So to me, let's hype up the independents. Let's give them a chance. And if you could back a Kickstarter, that gives them a chance. And so my belief, and one of the things I'm trying to do with Comic Book Nation, which I'm trying to get more membership. Now Comic Book Nation, any member could invite members.
All right.
Before it was locked down, but now anybody, if they want to invite artists, creators, publishers, retail establishments, they can do that. All they do is invite who they want, and then I'll approve them. It's an open forum.
Well,
it's closed.
How do we keep out the riffraff?
So the way I do that is I vet them. So me and my partner, my COO, my Chief Operating Officer, we vet them. And what we do is we look to see if they're on scammers or non-payers list. There's a lot of groups out there, and we do that. What we also do now is we watch those scammers and non-payers groups, and we get reports from them every day that tell us about new scammers or non-payers. And what we do is we compile a list, which is not open to the page yet, but will be probably within the next couple of months. We have a called the Comic Book Nation Blacklist. So it lists every non-payer and scammer, and that could be a retail store or a buyer or a collector. And if they've been reported, they will go on that list. So anybody can look on the list, and that's how we check that.
All right, but let me pause you right there. What if I bought something from somebody, but he didn't like me because I fucked his girlfriend, and now he's got a bad taste in his mouth, and he tells everybody that I scammed him out of money, and I end up on the blacklist, but I've done nothing wrong. And you get a hold of that blacklist from another site or wherever he's posted it, and now I'm on your blacklist even though I've done nothing wrong. How is there like an appeal process? Like, dude, here's the reason Tony doesn't like me, and he wrote that.
Well, there is an appeals process, and the way we do that, we do the Comic Book Nation. We have a way of using appeals, and we go through a process, and what we do is we compile the information. We normally ask for written information and explanation of what happened from the party who's complaining, and then we ask for pictures, and they have to be like text messages, or they have to be screenshots of the incident.
Yeah.
Then what we do is we go to the person who's being accused, and we ask them their version. Sometimes they won't cooperate and they don't want to get involved, or they get an attitude about it. So automatically, if they get an attitude, we automatically blacklist them, because it's like you're already being like very
confrontational.
How do I put it? Confrontational. And so we'll blacklist them. So we do go through an investigation process, and when we make a decision too, it's not based on my decision as the CEO. It's based on my COO, my CAO, and the other members and moderators of the administrative team. We go to vote, then they're removed from our group and then we blacklist them. We also get information from, like I said, from those groups that tell us about members that aren't members of ours that get sent to the blacklist, so that we never add them to our group either. So that's what we're doing with that. Then we vet our retail stores, and I'll get into that in a second. But that's very interesting process, because a lot of publishers that we work with and retail stores actually have asked us to vet their members as well, which I can't go into who those
I understand.
People are based on, because they asked us not to, but we do that for them. And so
now, is that a paid service?
No, it is not.
Is that a service you offer to other people? Like, hey, Group X, you want us to vet your people? Pay us $30.
That would be nice. It should be, but we don't. And what we do is we ask for a application. It's called the authorized seller or individual seller application. And it asks certain information about where your business is, your address, your aliases, you're doing business as, do you have an EIN number, a tax ID number? We never ask for the number because it's not really necessary, and it's against law anyways to get that information.
Okay.
And so we ask also if you do live auctions and how you do transactions, and that you agree to our standards. So all we do is ask how you're doing business. Then what we do is we'll look those members up within the state that they're in and cross-reference them to their state database to see if they're a legitimate business.
Wow.
And if they are, they'll have a business license. And then we will make them what they call an authorized seller. So authorized sellers are actually a brick and mortar store or a LLC or a S corp, a legitimate business. So an individual seller, though, is like anybody who wants to sell who doesn't have a business license, who is a sole proprietor, basically fictitious name. They're doing it out of their house or wherever.
Yeah.
And so we separate the two, and that's how we vet them. And if we find out they're lying or using information that's not truthful, they're automatically removed through the vetting process.
All right. Well, there's a number of, and you guys operate mainly off of Facebook, right?
For now, we do. We are looking into Twitch and into Instagram and YouTube, and we're looking at maybe simulcasting some stuff and using podcast eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Comic Book Nation doesn't do live auctions itself as a group. However, I mean, as the group, but as the members in the group, they do live auctions all the time. But eventually, Comic Book Nation will do live podcasts and also YouTube videos and live Comic Book Nation TV, as it's called. That's some of the things down the line that we're looking at. And so eventually that will happen, and then we'll simulcast it across Facebook.
Oh, and Twitch and all that other stuff. All right. But there's a ton of comic book groups on Facebook. How is yours different? And should people be exclusive to your group, or is it okay to go to be parts of many groups? How do you separate Comic Book Nation from everybody else, and why should people come to you?
Well, so the group is formed on, it's kind of interesting because in my public safety role in work, I kind of took some of those ideas that I've learned and put it into Comic Book Nation. Like, Comic Book Nation has a hierarchy of command. So we have an organizational chart. So it goes from the CEO, which is myself, to my COO, then my CAO, then my CFO, and then we have a chief moderator, a senior advisor, and an assistant moderator. Then it goes moderators. And then we have a branch where we have comic convention staff, which we haven't got into yet because we haven't formed the comic convention branch of our organization yet.
All right.
But we have an organizational chart. And then you're supposed to go to the moderators first before you go up to the higher echelon. The other thing we do is we set standards for things that have occurred in our file section of the group. And a lot of people have not agreed to those standards, so they've left for our group, and some of them complained, and so they've left. Mm-hmm. But the members that we have, though, they wholeheartedly agree to them. They're like, Comic Book Nation is the first group that's ever made standards, and we appreciate it. And I've gotten that information not only from artists, publishers, creators, collectors, retail stores. They all are on board with it. Some of them they don't agree with completely. I mean, it's like agree to disagree, but for the most part, most of the standards, they're like, yeah, that should have been done a long time ago. And a lot of groups out there do not have any standards at all, and that's why they get scammed or they have bad blood, or people just don't like being in those groups. You could find those groups a dime a dozen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the high school politics and the games and, oh, you left this group because of this group, and it just sounds like a bunch of childish bullshit to me. But then again, I'm not on social media for those things. I'm just simply trying to show off the stuff that I'm working on, whether it's a podcast, an app, or some sort of film project. I just want to show off and have a good time and see what people think and go move on to the next thing. Like, I'm not there to talk shit about anybody.
It's the way it should be. But a lot of groups on Facebook, unfortunately, they're cutthroat. They threaten you. I've been threatened to be killed.
What?
Sued. Yes, I was threatened to be shot a few weeks ago.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
I was told
over some Facebook shit.
Exactly.
All
I was
right.
told that they're going to shut down my site. I was told that they're going to come find my house and my family. I'm like, come on, bring it. I don't care.
Now, give me a little bit more meat to chew on. Like, can we know or what the circumstances were, or what they assume you did?
Well, they said that I'm causing trouble for them with Comic Book Nation because it's cutting into their business, because I require all these standards, and people are now leaving their groups and coming to our group, and they're accusing us of taking their members.
God damn, people can be part of both groups. It doesn't fucking matter.
Absolutely. And that answers the next question you asked me. We don't actually have exclusivity. We would like that, and there are a lot of members that are exclusive to our group, but we all know it's a free world, it's a free country, and you could do whatever you want. It's like anything else in life. You go shop somewhere, you can't find it, you go find it somewhere else. We don't hold people from that. And all members can be shared between groups and other groups, and so we don't care about that. But other groups get territorial, and it's very territorial.
That's crazy. They're ready to shoot somebody over some Facebook loyalty. All right, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
One of your goals is to have Comic Book Nation has their own inventory, almost like a brick and mortar, without the brick and mortar part, and you take this stockpile of comics and memorabilia and stuff to shows and set up at shows as a vendor, but without having a brick and mortar store. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So the goal now, Comic Book Nation is more like a virtual Comic-Con. So what we've done is, and we're still trying to get more artists. Eventually, one thing we want to do is make a panel of artists that actually are exclusive to Comic Book Nation. And what we'll do is we'll set up and we'll go to
exclusive
cons
to.
And artists.
Hold on, let me pause you there. What do you mean by exclusive to Comic Book Nation? Like when you say artists that are exclusive to Comic Book Nation, what does that mean?
Well, they can't be completely exclusive because they could belong to, let's say, Scott's Collectibles or Kirby's Comics or Scott's Comics or.
Oh, you mean they can't be part of any other group?
Correct.
Oh, wow. That's a heavy ask, man.
I know. That's going to be a hard sell. And I don't know if that's going to work we're going to try it out if it eventually once we get to that point. But I have a funny feeling, like everything else that I've learned through this process, we're going to have to adapt and overcome and make concessions. And I think that I'm at a point now in how I do things that I can do that. And if we can make concessions and work together as a team, as a family, I think we'll be good.
Well, let me fire some shots at that. I could be a number of different people in this scenario. I'm a starving artist who makes very little money, and I'm trying to do this to make a living. By being part of multiple groups, I diversify I expand the reach of people that may pay for my services. So in order for me to be exclusive to one group, you're asking me to possibly not make money to be part of your group. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems, that doesn't seem like that's going to benefit the artist much. It would definitely benefit the group. But if the public doesn't know that artist has great work, like if he can't show off his work in all those other groups, then his work will not be desired. And then when he's in the Comic Book Nation and he drops this hot ass cover, his audience is diminished because the other groups we're not aware of his presence, and so you're limiting the audience. I'm not sure that I'm not following the math on that one, but I understand the thought behind it.
So what I think what I was trying to tell you is that we don't mind that you share your art with other groups. In fact, we promote and share. We're trying to do more. It takes time, and we just haven't had a lot of time to do it. Mm-hmm. But we are doing more promotion of artists and Kickstarters and publishing of art for artists.
All right.
And we've actually set up a Comic Book Nation Artist Alley group where we're trying to get artists to do live auctions now in that group. It's a branch of our group. And so what we're doing is trying to get them to sell their art, do commissions, live commissions, do doodle or whatever.
I do like that idea. I do like that idea of that seems new to me. Now, granted, I don't spend a shitload of time on social media, but I don't know that I've seen a group that has a branch that says, here are artists that belong to this group, and here's where they're exclusively selling. Like, this page is exclusive for anyone that's an artist and belongs in this group. You guys can sell your shit and do it. Where when I'm going to these other groups, it's not. They help the artists. They're like, hey, we have artists that belong in this group. Here they're artists. But when you go to the sale page, it's, they're selling ASM 300 and Spawn #1. So you're having to weed through all of the regular comic book stuff to get to the fact that you're trying to promote the artists that belong to the group. So I think I commend you on trying to focus on the artists that belong to the group and letting them have a dedicated space. They don't have to be published. They can just be like, if Christopher gets a pen and draws an Incredible Hulk one day at work, you may not be a professional artist, but you could put it in there and then people be like, oh, that's Christopher's artwork. Maybe I want to buy that.
Absolutely. And so that's why we built it, is to dedicate it exactly to the artist and the creators, because the thing is that that's the very important part of comics. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. And so what we do is we made that group a public group, open to the public, so anybody could see it. Mm-hmm. However, the only people that could be members are the artists and creators. We do let publishers too, because publishers, and I'll tell you why, they'll look for talent that is out there, and they may see something they like from someone who's not really well known or just starting out.
Yeah,
the publisher will grab them.
I raised my hand to that one. I only say that because,
and so that's why we started it.
But do those settings indicate? You said they're only going to have members, but the regular people need to be, like the non-artist people need to be able to comment and buy without being a member of the page. Is that making any sense? I don't know if I'm getting the words right.
I hear what you're saying. They still could comment. And they could still buy. Yep.
All right.
So coming back to what you were saying about sharing to other groups your art.
Mm-hmm.
So we believe in that. What I think I was trying to say was that if we have a panel artist, we want that panel to either belong to someone like us or to Daniel Scott's Collectibles, or somebody like that, a clearinghouse. And so what Comic Book Nation is like that, you could still promote your art on other sites, even though you're exclusive to us or to Scott's Collectibles or wherever you are. You could have multiple agreements with people. We aren't going to limit you to that, because that's not realistic. Because honestly, you're not going to make money that way. And so what we're just trying to do is make it so that you, on your resume or whatever you do, or go to a con, you say, hey, I'm a member of Comic Book Nation as a panel artist, and I'm a member of Scott's Collectibles, and I'm of this and this and this. And that way it builds your resume, and it also helps Comic Book Nation as an organization as well. Because I'll be honest with you, in time, maybe not right now, because it's still very early.
Okay.
But I want Comic Book Nation to become a household name in the comic industry.
At what level?
At any level. There's no limit.
Well, no, you guys aren't going to become a publisher, right? That's not the goal, is it?
Well, there's been some talk about that. That's like way down the
heavy
road.
task.
However, it's very heavy. I've looked into it. To be honest with you, the only way we could become a publisher right now is if we had the backing of someone who's in the publishing industry, or the backing of a bunch of artists who want to branch off that are independents or from the big three and want to start a new company because they're tired of the big three. And that's the only way, because we've actually looked at it, and it costs a lot of money.
Yeah. That's why there's only 3, right? But I mean,
exactly.
I really appreciate the business model that, like, Scout Comics and Caliber and Aftershock, like, what they're doing is they're using the Kickstarter people and just buying the story, giving them money to publish their story that they've already gotten taken care of. So that exposes multiple creators. Like, just because I wrote Jackrabbit Slim and I did a Kickstarter and then Scout publishes it, well, maybe someone at the big three or someone on Spider-Man says, I really like the guy that wrote that Jackrabbit Slim. I want to bring him in and do a run with this character. So it can always lead to so much other stuff. I really appreciate the fact that the publishers are now looking for small projects worthy of being introduced into the world. I think that's great.
So that brings me up to a good point too. I agree with that totally. What we're trying to do in Comic Book Nation too is that we make exclusive agreements with certain individuals or companies now.
Uh-huh.
So one of our exclusive agreements is with Scout Comics. They are a partnership with us.
Oh wow!
We are also now partnered with Limitless Comics, which is an independent company. It's very small.
All right.
And Anthony Moore is the artist and creator of that, of his company, and he's a very good person, and he has really good art. We've also now recently partnered with a comic supply company for supplies for comic books.
Oh, like storage and long boxes and bags and boards and stuff?
And frames and all that.
Okay.
And so what we do is we seek out and look for agreements with companies to be sponsors or partners, and that way we could offer more to the members of Comic Book Nation, but it also gives us a how do I put it, a standing in the community as well as a reputable site, and it shows that we're progressing forward.
Yeah.
And that's part of our model too, as the virtual Comic-Con, because if we could offer those services when we go to a con, let's say you set up at our table,
Mm-hmm.
you do your art, sell your art, and maybe a couple other artists, and then we'll have like the comic supply person that does the comic supplies for comics set up, and we could do other stuff too, and we just make a virtual Comic-Con. We could take like 3 or 4 tables and take that whole roll right there and just set it up. And it will be under Comic Book Nation, but it will be also under your name or
no, I
else's
understand.
name.
Yeah, I've seen that done at conventions before, much like a smaller independent comic book publisher will buy 7 artist tables, right? And then put one big banner that says my publishing company. Well, each one of those tables is a separate artist that is not necessarily exclusive with that company, but they have a project through them, and my publishing company there wants to bring eyeballs, so they have those artists and creators there at the table where it all appears as they're one big family. And you know, that doesn't limit the people, that the artists and creators that are there, but it shows that, hey, we support as a unit.
Absolutely. And that's what we're looking at, because if I could take you or somebody else or another person or 2 other people, and we have them under the CBN Comic Book Nation banner at a con, well, you're representing and you support us.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still free to go where you want, do what you want, and sell what you want and do your art how you want. It's all freedom. But you're supporting us, and so that says a lot.
Yeah, I do like that.
People don't know any different. They're like, oh, you have Bryan SilverBax.
So let's say you're going to be a vendor at San Diego Comic-Con, right? And you've bought, this is probably pretty damn expensive, but you've bought 2 vendor areas, and you're saying Comic Book Nation at vendor spot 101. Also, as a guest of Comic Book Nation, we'll have Bryan SilverBax, we'll have, a Writer X, and we'll also have the guys from Comic Book Supplies showing off their new product, and we're going to have all of our slabs and exclusive covers available. Come down to our spot at vendor spot X. And then I see the appeal of what you're doing.
Absolutely. That's exactly, you got it exactly right.
So you can advertise, I've got these creators at my booth, come to my booth. And then, it's everybody's, all the hands are getting washed. Or all the backs are getting washed. You wash my back,
exactly.
All the backs are getting scratched. It's a big back scratch circle.
Exactly. And that's what Comic Book Nation actually now starting to form and become, because if you think about the comic industry full circle, you go from the artist, creator, publisher, Kickstarters, collectors, buyers, retail stores. It's all one big circle. And if you include all those players in the circle, everybody's happy. And that's what Comic Book Nation is about. We want to make a better environment for not just the buyer, the retailer, the artist, the creator, the publisher, and the seller. We want to make it good for everyone and to make it an all-around good experience. And that's what we're trying to do.
I appreciate that. How long has Comic Book Nation been a legitimate thing?
Well, we started it off about a year and a half ago, and we scrapped the project, and then we decided to reopen it and do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been officially around 9 months, but
right.
In those 9 months, we've grown faster than any other group on Facebook right now, and that does stuff like this. The reason why a lot of people don't like our group, like I told you before, is because of standards earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that our group still continues to grow, and it's not stopping. It's slowed down a little because this time of year comics are going to slow down through the winter season, but as time goes, around January through like spring and summer again, our membership will probably be double what it is now. We're at 1,550 right now. We'll probably be at 3,000 by spring, if not more. And so our group in a short amount of time has grown and will grow to that as projected, while other groups have been around 2 to 4 years, still haven't even peaked at 1,600 members.
Now you said you're 1,550. Out of that 1,550, how many of those are retailers that are moving large amounts of books? If you had to guess.
So that's interesting. Actually, I could tell you exact numbers because we do projections, and I watch trending, and I go through our retailers at least twice a week. I go through them on Monday and on the weekends, and I'll look to see who's actually brick and mortar retailer and look to see who are individual sellers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason why we ask for an application for our vetting, is we keep track of that. And so we look, and I could tell you that we have about 30 brick and mortar stores right now that are members. And out of those, we probably have about 12 that actually move high volume. The rest are medium to small.
Okay.
And then the rest are individual sellers. And the total amount of sellers, if you add them all together, is 110 right now.
All right. And that leaves the other 900 people is just individual people that appreciate what you're doing and want to be a part of it.
Correct.
Or small-time sellers.
Or small-time sellers, or they could be people who do other types of businesses related to comics, like supplies, or they could be publishers, or they could be other things that are related to comics, or they could be a promoter or anything like that. And we don't really have a criteria for that. They're just put with the general people.
Yeah. Now, when you guys did an exclusive cover bundle pack thing. Out of that exclusive bundle pack, who is allowed to buy those bundles that you are offering? Is anybody allowed to buy
so that's interesting
bundles of 10?
So it's interesting you say that. We're going to probably change that the next time, which we are going to do another exclusive. I will tell you that right now. We're already looking into talks about that, looking into that, how we're going to go in our game plan. We just don't have a cover yet, but we are going to do one. But the way we did it in the beginning is we knew we were going to do 2 covers.
Okay.
So we had to sell them. We had to figure out how we were going to fund it in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because Comic Book Nation has no funding right now. And so we decided to reach out to retail stores, brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's the ones that are going to be selling your books, and that's how you're going to do it. So we did it, and we looked, and we went through over 250 brick and mortar stores that weren't members of ours either.
Okay,
However,
so you actually shopped outside of the group to try to move these units.
We did,
okay.
Which is something that is not our standard. It's not written anywhere. And we decided as a group, we sat and talked. I talked to my COO, and I talked to my moderators, and we sat and decided, Chris, in order to do this, we're going to have to go outside. We didn't want to, but we thought about it, and even now, as a business model, we can't restrict ourselves to just our group. We have to go outside the box. And if we keep restricting ourselves, we're never going to grow to a point where we want to. So we went outside, but we still vetted those people.
No, yeah. You don't want them to commit to $150 worth of product and then balk you after you've given the money to the guy you're buying it from.
Absolutely. And so what we also did is we required them to sign a retail agreement. And it's a legal binding agreement drawn up. It's 4 pages, and it says, you shall not do this and this and this, and you have to sell the comic. Once you buy your comics from us, you have to sell the raw comic for $20.
Yeah.
That's the MRSP. And so we decided to make them agree to that, and they all agreed to that. And
well, that's good.
So we sold them to them, and we did it in how we did it was, if you buy 100, you get your logo on the back.
Okay.
Along with our logo.
Yes.
If you don't buy 100, you don't get your logo. And so we only had 4 people do it, so there's only 5 people get their logo on the back.
That's still pretty baller, though.
It is. And we're going to do it as a multi-store exclusive, as it's called, which has never been done in the industry. So that's what we're doing, and it's a first, actually. And so even though other places have done exclusives, they'll have backers.
Yeah.
They normally only do one logo, and they don't call it a multi-store. And so that's what we decided to do in order to get our exclusive out there, because this is our first exclusive, and we wanted to make sure it went without flaws.
Well, it's your first real anything, right? So there's gonna be a learning curve to the whole process. Like you said next time we're gonna have to do this, this, and this. So even though this sale may not have gone flawlessly, you've learned and you're gonna adjust fire.
Absolutely. But it didn't go that bad either. It actually went pretty smooth, because I've talked to people in the industry and pretty high up in comics. One of the executives from Marvel that I know very well,
mm-hmm.
He told me, he goes, Chris, how fast did you sell those books? I'm like, in 3.5 weeks. He's like, that is unheard of. That's a short time span.
That is
and
short.
He's like, he goes, I'm very proud of you, because he goes, you've actually made a name for yourself in a short amount of time. And I'm like, thank you. And so what we did after that, we decided to ask Scout Comics, because that's who the exclusive's through.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked them if we could start pre-orders. And they finally gave us the blessing, because we didn't want to do it without actually having them give us permission. And we asked for pre-orders. So we sent it out to pre-orders, and what we did is we made a pricing criteria. So 20 for raw, 25 for single signature, 25 for double signature raw, and then it'd be $69.95 for blue label CGC and $100 for yellow label double signed CGC. So what we've done is we told all the retailers that bought the books
mm-hmm.
that that's how much you want them to sell for if you're going to sell them. And some of them agreed. Most of them did, except for one.
Well, now you're telling me that when they get them, you're only telling them that they can only sell them for $20 in the raw form, right? Anything
Correct.
After that, they can make up their own prices. If they want to charge $70 for one signature, they're more than welcome to try.
Correct. But what we've learned from this That may change the next time because we don't want to be undersold. And the problem is because we are also selling those books now too. So it's the first time we've ever sold anything from our group. So we're getting to the retail part of it. So this is our first attempt now to start becoming a business as well. And so making money. And so what happened was with that retailer, we got undercut. And so what we've decided next time, that retailer will not be allowed to grade their own books except through us. Because a lot of other groups that do CGC or CBCS tell them that, no, we're offering that service and you can get it through us, but you cannot do that yourself. So we'll control the prices.
Yeah,
and
my only thought to that, just being on the outside and totally novice at this, is that don't offer that pricing to anybody. Don't post that shit until after you get all the books signed and slabbed and graded yourself, which means you'd have to come out of pocket. You're going to spend $5,000 to get 100 books graded at different levels, and then you're sitting on the stockpile, and then you move them and say, I will sell this to you, Shop X, for $75. So that way you're in complete control of the initial batch of all the signed books, and you're not taking orders.
Absolutely. And that's what we've decided, because we decided we need to control it more, because the way it was this time, unfortunately, like I said, we had a short amount of time. Them. We did very well moving them, but there was no other options to do it any other way. But now, from now on, that's how we're going to do it, is that we're going to restrict the movement of those books.
Yeah,
we have control.
I wouldn't even tell the people. You could just tell them, hey, we will have some graded copies on hand 3 months later or something, but don't offer that as a service, because you're only going to it's going to get so complicated, and who owes what, and I wanted a 9/8, but you only got a 9/4, all that extra bullshit. If Comic Book Nation just orders 10 slabs, whatever they come graded, Comic Book Nation puts a price tag on them and then puts them in their auction house ready for auction, or their online store, and shops can scoop them up if they want.
Absolutely. And that's what we decided, because that way we control it, and that way they come to us still and they get the books that are graded from us, and that way it restricts the movement of those books, because we don't want to flood the market with too many graded books either, because then they're not worth anything.
Yeah. Well, then also you can hold on to a small portion of those graded books for when you set up at San Diego Comic-Con, or whenever you get your little, when you get your vendor stuff all squared away, and now people can only get those super slab signature editions at your vendor area.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, that's
so we
cool.
talked about all that, and that's what's going to probably go into effect next time we do exclusive, because first thing we went, well, whoa, what's going on? I'm like, no. The first thing came out of my mouth to my COO, I said, restrict the movement of the books now. He's like, I can't. They've already been sold. I'm like, you're right, we can't. So next time I said, under no circumstances are we going to do it this way anymore. And he says, I totally agree. And it was like a less than 5 minute conversation.
Well, that's awesome.
We agreed upon that.
I'm like I said, I don't know shit about anything, but did you already collect the money? Or are you still sitting on IOUs, or how does that work? Because I saw you've concluded the sale. These bundles are no longer for sale. You've sold them.
Nope. All bundles are gone. We sold them completely. And what we did is when we reached out to the retailers to tell them that we had an exclusive, we told them that they can't mention to anybody, they can't send pictures to anybody, that you could share information with another retailer if you want to, but that information has to be proprietary. And we told them, all right, so this is what we're doing. You could do 100, you could do 10 for this price in the packs. You get 2 covers. So each pack would be 10 each of each cover, and they're like, okay. And so what they did is they agreed to that. And then what we did is we sent them the retail agreement, and then we told them, all right, we're going to send you an invoice for this, and you have a week to pay it, and this is it. After that, we're going to put those books back out for sale.
All right.
However, we told them also we also told them we charge them a 20% restock fee. That was part of the agreement.
Okay.
And so it's like, all right, if you're going to renege on this, then, and you won't be allowed to ever be privileged to have exclusive ever again. And so we told them that too. And they're like, all of them paid within a week. And so everything's paid up. We're done.
All right. And you've sent it off to the publisher? Like said, hey, here's my money?
I do not know. My COO was sitting on that. And I think they sent it, supposed to send it last week.
Okay.
He had a meeting with Scout. So I think it's been sent, but I'm not completely sure. We're going to have a conference call and a meeting the end of this week. And if it hasn't been done yet, I'm going to push to have it done because it needs to be done now.
The publisher is Scout on this. Have they told you when to expect the books or given you any kind of time frame for that?
I heard somewhere around September 30th, I think they're supposed to either go out to print or they're going to be printed now and then they're going to be out to the general public on the 30th. That's what I've heard so far.
So your retailers...
But that might...
Oh, go ahead.
That might get pushed out, though, depending on if the money's been sent to Scout yet.
Okay. Now, your retailers that have bought into this, they had to order, what'd you say, 100 to get their logo on the back?
Correct.
All right, so let's talk about those 100. They're not allowed to tell their customers that, hey, check out this cool cover that we'll have at the end of the year, or they can't tell you the title, or they can't bring it up at all or anything?
They can tell them now since pre-orders are being taken, but before pre-order status, they cannot tell anyone.
All right, so there is images online that they could show people, like they're allowed to do that?
Yes. In fact, it's kind of interesting because on eBay right now, for example, Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure cover is now selling for over $45 raw.
What? The book ain't even out yet.
I know.
It must not
pre-orders.
It must not have the artist's name on it because I've Googled the artist and I haven't seen that pop up in my feed.
I'll send you the link later. It's still
I'm
there.
kidding. I can pull it up, but I still I periodically I type in SilverBax on eBay just to see what people are selling that I've done, and I don't know. So those that have listened to 56 minutes of this podcast, I did the 2 covers for the Scout comic that you guys are doing, and so I always just kind of keep tabs on what's going on, what's my name being attached to, and I have yet to see that on eBay. Yeah,
they're selling 13 copies right now, pre-order.
That's awesome. I mean, good for them, man. I hope they get all the money. Like I think some people get really carried away with when they price their exclusive stuff. Like everyone wants to have that $100. I want to make $100 per copy of this book, but you're going to move more books the lower you bring the price down, and then more people have your logo and your brand in their hand the lower you bring the price down. And is that what you want?
Funny. Absolutely. It's funny you say that because when we were moving the books before pre-order, because we had only a short window, we tried to figure out a way to do it so it was fair and different for the industry. And and that's one thing Comic Nation's about too. We're very innovative. We'll try new and different things. We'll take advice, suggestion, creative criticism, anything that will help the industry as a whole. We're just not about us. We're about the nation, the hobby, the passion of it for everyone involved in the industry. And so what we did is we decided, all right, most books, you tell someone you need to buy 2,000 or whatever the limit is, 750, 250, and you're going to buy these, and that's what you're going to do because that's all we're going to offer you. And that's how a lot of publishers do it.
Correct.
So what we did is we said, all right, we have a limited amount of this and this. How are we going to do this so it's fair and affordable to the retailers? So we decided to break them up in 10 packs, which is unheard of in the industry. And I know that because I've talked to 4 high-end people who actually do exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, wow, so you know what they're doing now? They're actually doing the same thing. They copied us. They're now using packs, 10 packs as well, for a fixed price. And so that's what we did, and now they're doing the same thing because they know that they can move smaller volume faster than bigger volume.
Well, it makes it the whole process that you're doing, and I don't know that you're the first to do this as an organization, but you reach out to 6 mid-level comic book shops and say, hey, do you guys want an exclusive? If we all chip in, then we can buy the 1,000 copy minimum that the publisher tells us we have to buy. And then we each chip in our piece, and then we each have an exclusive. That way no one is having to come out the box for the 1,000 copies. You know, I think that's great. It's more exposure for the shops. It's more exposure for the artist, whoever they've gotten to do the cover, whether it's somebody that no one's heard of like me, or whether they've got a, Buzz cover or a Neil Adams cover or whatever. It creates more work and exposes more people. That is what I'm a fan of.
And so it's another thing we're trying to do. It's going to go slow and go, but we started a secret group right now.
Ooh, am I in this secret group?
Not yet, but you will
no
be.
Secret group.
So in 27 days, I messed up how I did it.
All right.
I made it secret, so I can't add anybody to it right now. So I got to open it again to close, and then I'll add everybody, and then I'll put it back to secret. But the thing with the group is it's right now the name is the Secret Society of Comic Book Nation.
All right.
But I don't like that name. We're going to change it, and I need to. What I'm going to do is put out a poll to see who wants to make a name for it. But it's going to be a secret group, and in that group there are standards also. So you follow the same standards as Comic Book Nation because it's an affiliate of it. Mm-hmm. But the standards in that group are way different because it's a secret group. Anything that happens in that group stays in that group.
What is that group's function?
Everything that is the function of that group is to fund exclusive covers through publishers. And
so
artists
this is the higher end. This is the higher end decision making part of the Comic Book Nation.
Correct.
These are the whales. These are the ones that have wallets that want to be part of something. This isn't for Joe Schmo.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we decided to do that because we're like, how are we going to fund all our exclusive covers that we plan on doing? Because we have some ideas how we want to do some stuff eventually, and we have some artists that we want to do our covers for us. For example, yourself as one of them.
Well, thank you.
And we are You're welcome. And so we're looking at how we would do that because, like I said, and you asked me earlier, we don't make money. Comic Book Nation's not a money maker.
Yeah.
And so how would we do that? So we have to get some whales with deep pockets who want to be a part of something bigger. And so in that group, what we're going to do is we're going to have this standards where you have to fund projects, you have to work on projects, you have to give feedback, and every 6 months, if you don't either contribute to that exclusive or a exclusive, or you don't buy packs, because we're going to still do the pack system.
Yeah.
If you don't buy packs of books to sell in your retail store, you will be removed after 6 months.
I think
so that group.
I think the super secret group, that sounds also like if you were to do another exclusive cover, that would be the people you say, hey guys, let's put our heads together and do we like cover A, cover B? Do we like this artist? Here's some samples. What do you like? Those are the guys that would be able to help facilitate that, I believe.
Absolutely. For example, let's say you did a cover right now and you gave us sample A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, and you're involved in that process too, because artists and creators will be allowed in that group too, because it's part of the process. And so you would say, all right, I want to do these covers, but what do you guys think? And you'll sit in there with us, and we'll have a conference call, because that's how I like to do things. I like to talk, and we'll do that. I hate texting, that type of stuff. And since we're all over the country, we can't be in the same room, but we could at least have a conference call.
Yeah.
And so So what we'll do is we'll sit and we'll hash it out. We'll show video, show pictures, and we'll go, okay, cover A, no. We'll vote on cover B, no, and so on. And we'll go, okay, how about cover D? And so we'll decide on that. Or we'll go, nope, cover A, but we want cover D to be a virgin, or a foil cover, or a lenticular, or whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so the super secret group is the kind of the ones that pick what is going to be an actual cover, and then you introduce it to the rest of the group and say, hey, now y'all can buy bundles.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there'll be a sub level, obviously. It'd be us, create us as Comic Book Nation, you guys, artists and creators, and then we'll go to the next sub level where now we have the secret whales, the big pocket people who want to buy the exclusive, and then we'll decide, and then there we go. Then we'll push it out.
It just sounds like so much work, man. You're talking about 18 million Facebook groups and all this COO and CFO, and I'm just like, God dang, man, how do you you can't do anything else? It sounds like that. There's just too much.
It is a lot of work.
Wow. I don't have that kind of dedication.
And what is funny is I have all my administrative team now, right, set up. I still have 6 spots open, but the thing is that not all my administrators have time either. So I do most of the work right now. And I appreciate my moderators and admin staff. They've helped me a lot, and I'm very grateful for them. And I understand people have lives, so I can't fault them for that. But it's a full-time job because I field complaints too from members about bad transactions or how they've been treated by a seller or another buyer. And I also field complaints not only from our group, but it's funny, other groups come to me too because they know Comic Book Nation has standards, so they go, how would you handle this situation? So I field those now too. So I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. Well, let me offer this. I just thought of this as I was looking around my destroyed man cave, is to increase the visibility of the group. If a Comic Book Nation moderator, like 3 times a week, post out a poll that requires people to say to pick, like something that says, "Show me your favorite Todd McFarlane cover," because people are quick to show off what they have. And the way the algorithms work on Facebook is the more people that are commenting and stuff on your post, the more Facebook makes sure that people see your post. So if you post questions to the Comic Book Nation, that who do you think made the best, show me the biggest DVD collection, show me your favorite pop, show me your favorite Wolverine suit. Like if you do those type of things like 3 or 4 times a week and people respond, and Facebook will make sure that people see your stuff, and that all leads to growth. Just a suggestion.
So it's funny, that's a very good suggestion. So some of the things I would like to do for our group, which I don't have the expertise or a technical knowledge or IT knowledge. I'm pretty smart with computers, but that stuff I'm just not with the media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do a podcast at least once a week about either what comics are hot or comics from the 90s or some type of topic or Spider-Man, any topic, or even feature a featured artist. We'll call up an artist and say, hey, Todd McFarlane, you want to do a podcast this week? Let's interview you. Mm-hmm. I want to do that. I also want to do a YouTube TV, the comic YouTube thing eventually. But one thing I've been working on too is I did a question of the day I was doing for a while,
mm-hmm.
but unfortunately I just haven't had time to do them every day. And I will say, hey, who is your favorite female hero?
Oh, I saw that.
So I would get the request, and people would comment to that, and my posting would go up, like my replies.
Yeah.
So I noticed that it would hit more people.
Well, as a suggestion, as someone who uses social media semi-regularly, try to figure out a way to incorporate some sort of image. Don't just rely on text. Like, have a picture of 5 Wonder Woman covers and then have the caption read, show me your favorite Wonder Woman cover, because if it doesn't have a picture, the attention span of people today, it's going to get lost. So just as a little thing, please try to incorporate pictures in your post, and more people will stop to take notice.
I've kind of noticed that because people will not read the posts very much unless they're actually
I don't
there
read
all the time. But if you put a picture, I've noticed, I get hit after hit after hit. And we're visual people. So, but yeah, I'll work on that, and I'll push that out to my moderators and see, because one of my moderators right now, he owns a retail store, and he was asking me the other day, how can I help you grow this even bigger? And so we've been working on some stuff and talking over some stuff, because he even took a banner and made a Comic Book Nation banner, he went to a con the other day in Lexington. And so I know he pushed us out and used us as part of his table. So,
well, right on.
So there is some movement going on. One thing too, eventually, what we're going to do is I designed it, so we're going to have baseball hats and T-shirts eventually for sale.
Okay.
But we haven't pushed it out yet. We're kind of waiting on that, but we're going to do that too, so people could promote it that way.
That is awesome, sir. So right now, is there a .com website where you can send people to check out more information, or is it just the Facebook page at the moment?
Just Facebook at the moment. Once I have been working on a page.
Okay.
It's not completely done yet. You could probably look at it. It's posted on Comic Book Nation on Facebook. But it's kind of primitive right now. I've been dabbling and putting it piecemeal in it. Yeah. But eventually, once it's done, the name won't be Comic Book Nation either. It'll be thecomicbooknation.com.
All right.
Because Comic Book Nation's been taken already. And so, yeah, I don't know how that happened, but it's all right.
Yeah.
But so it's going to be thecomicbooknation.com, and that will be the website when it's all done.
All right.
And I've been looking at stuff integrating too, and I might do it actually. I actually might put the website and finish it, at least make it live. I was thinking probably by the end of this month actually, because I want to do pre-orders on our exclusives too, because I have some myself.
Yeah.
And I want to do pre-orders. So I learned this program called ECID.com.
Right.
And what it does, it links Facebook and Instagram together with this platform, and you could sell and connect it to your website too.
All right.
So it hits all 4 platforms, and that way you could sell, and it will let me have the ability to sell on Facebook now.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Well, thank you for talking with me, Christopher, and I hope this isn't the last time we get to talk.
No, it definitely won't be.
So,
thank you.
For those that are wanting something cool to do on Facebook, check out Comic Book Nation. Be part of one of the many levels of the society. Some of them are secret, some of them are not so secret, but anything, it's all cool. So check them out. Thank you for tuning in. Do all the thumbs up. Tell Skynet that I'm worth listening to, and share with all your friends. Uh-oh, my phone's ringing. I'm going to have to turn it off. And as always, stay creative.
It's almost